Order. Question number 9, Grant Robertson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. Does he stand by his statement that the government's top fiscal priority is returning to surplus this year and maintaining surpluses in the future?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, I stand by my full statement from Budget 2015. The government has 5 priorities: returning to surplus and maintaining surpluses in the future, that's this year 2014-15, reducing net debt to 20% of GDP by 2020, including repaying debt in dollar terms in 2017-18, further reducing ACC levies, beginning to reduce income taxes from 2017 with a focus on low and middle income earners, and using any further fiscal headroom to reduce debt faster.
Very good. Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Correct that the first line of the Minister's letter of expectations to EQC is, quote, returning to surplus is a key priority for 2014-15, and is this what led to the $2 billion that was set aside to meet EQC's shortfall mysteriously shrinking to $500 million in the 2014-15 accounts?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, no, it's simply not possible to politically direct EQC on its assessment of liabilities. The fact is, when you have 400,000 claims in Christchurch, including many very complex claims, EQC are continuously re-estimating their liabilities, and it turns out that they were fairly conservative to start with, and we took the hit at that time. And if the liability is dropping, that's good news, not bad news.
Supplementary question, Jami-Lee Ross.
What was the state of the government's finances when National first came into office in 2008?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the projected numbers were pretty awful, including never-ending deficits. But what was worse is that the Labor government's attitude to spending had permeated the public service, who believed they should get money for any purpose they could think of with no accountability. And we have now changed that.
Supplementary. Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Was Judith Collins correct when she said that ACC levies were not lowered, quote, it's because we need to get to surplus, and we're very honest about that?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the decisions about ACC levies have been made in order to be assured that ACC is in a sound financial situation. And Ms Collins was quite right that we were fairly conservative about the reductions in levies, but now that we've achieved over $1 billion in reductions in levies, and the motor vehicle registration levy, for instance, is now consulting on a reduction from $330 per car just a couple of years ago to $130, we think that's progress.
Supplementary question, Jami-Lee Ross.
What progress is the government making towards its target of returning to fiscal surplus this year?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, most of the progress has been based on the government being active in restraining spending. 4 years ago, the government showed an $18 billion deficit, around 9% of GDP, following the global financial crisis and the Canterbury earthquakes. That deficit was halved in 2012, halved again to $4.4 billion in 2013, and reduced to just around $3 billion in the year to June 2014. It's clear that the return to surplus was always a stretch target, as evidenced by the fact that Treasury's last forecast showed a deficit for 2014-15. So regardless of whether the annual accounts tomorrow show a small surplus or a small deficit, the overall trend is in the right direction, because the government is making sure that public money is used effectively. That is, to make sure children learn at school, prisoners who leave prison don't re-offend, less children are abused, and we get rid of some scourges in our community, such as rheumatic fever.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Isn't it correct that the small surplus for 2014-15 that he will announce tomorrow was created by accounting fudges ripping off the people of Canterbury, making New Zealanders pay more for their ACC than they should have, and that it will actually be the only surplus he will achieve in 3 terms in government?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, we've yet to see what the annual accounts will show. But I can confirm for the member that the government has been able to run small increases in expenditure, around $500 million per year on a $70 billion spending base, and achieve better public services. And I know that that's what really makes the Labor Party angry, because they thought National would slash and burn, and the social sector in particular would support the Labor Party. But in fact they don't. They're supporting our efforts to do a better job for New Zealanders with the money that we have.
Supplementary question, Jami-Lee Ross.
What progress has the government made on its other fiscal priorities?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, quite good progress. In Budget 2015 we signalled another $500 million reduction in annual ACC levies, on top of the $1.5 billion reduction in annual levies since 2011. Government net debt is projected to fall to around 20% of GDP in 2020-21, and according to the IMF, we now have one of the lowest net debt levels in the developed world. Any further fiscal headroom, including from positive revenue surprises, would be used to get debt down sooner.
Question number 10, Scott Simpson.